I'm in red form, in a red state, such a red case on a red song. In a shared space with my shareholders, cause we share a bond. Spiritual healthcare, that's real self-care, you won't care for.
I got my Mets hat on to the back. Y'all already know where we going with the stats.
Any artist that's talking garbage and try to curse us, y'all follow a wave and do whatever's current. I follow his ways, I know my turn is coming.
Welcome to New York Giants Full Access. What's going on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all platforms? Welcome to another episode of New York Giants Full Access with your boy Big Pat Sports Talk. And today's subject, after you like and subscribe to the video, thank you very much. We are over 3,000 subscribers. I am elated. Thank you guys for all your support. But today's subject, we're going to be talking about the future of the New York Giants with Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. Now, we have part of the fan base that saying, hell yeah, there's no way we can move forward without Barkley and Jones. And then there's another half of the fan base is like, man, you need to get rid of both those guys. Daniel Jones is mediocre and running backs don't matter. So I'm just going to go with a couple of things moving forward of like a future going forward with Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. So let's say you sign Daniel Jones, I don't know, between 30 and 35 million, and Barkley gets his contract between 14 and 16 million. So an average of about 49 million, let's just say 50 million a year between those two guys. I think that's very fair moving forward with those two guys going forward with the New York Giants, because they bring so much of a dynamic to the New York Giants team that a lot of people don't appreciate. First and foremost with Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones has shown that he knows how to maneuver in the pocket. He's shown that he can be very accurate with the ball, and he's shown that he's not a turnover machine this year, and he picked up the offense pretty quickly this year, even though this was his first year in the offense. And whether you believe it or not, this dude made plenty of plays for this team that put this team in positions to win. Everybody's just going to bring up, oh, you only had 15 touchdowns passing, but forget to mention that he had over 700 yards rushing and 7 TDs rushing. So he had almost 4,000 yards and 22 touchdowns, which is nothing to sneeze at in this league, especially with the roster that he had around him. So 22 touchdowns and 4,000 yards, that is not a horrible season. That's actually a pretty good season that you will want from your quarterback in a situation that he is in. He does not have the receiver talent around him like these other guys have. You can sneeze at that if you want. You can roll your eyes if you want. He doesn't have it. The offensive line is still not where it needs to even be half decent. We're still bottom half of the offensive line. And this was his first year in the brand new scheme, and he still gave you 4,000 yards and 22 touchdowns this year. What do you think that he can do if he had the talent around him that these other quarterbacks have? You think that he's going to do less with more talent? I don't believe so. There's no analytical data or any factors that you can tell me that he will get worse with talent around him. You have to wait and see. Everybody's saying, oh, this is the best that he will ever be. How can you say that when his offensive line wasn't blocking very well? He still didn't have the receivers around him that all these other guys had. But that's his ceiling? That's the best he can do? That doesn't make sense. You act like he had Jamar Chase or T. Higgins or somebody out there with him this year, and he put up those stats. Then maybe, yeah, I would agree with you a little bit more, but he doesn't have the talent around him. He didn't even have the offensive line talent around him. But he still gave us 4,000 yards and 22 touchdowns in his very first year in a brand new scheme again. It's pretty dope. Then Saquon Barkley. Also, Daniel Jones, before I get to Saquon Barkley, he stayed healthy the whole season. He did. He proved that he can stay healthy. He proved that he can maneuver in the pocket. He proved that he can get out the pocket and make plays. And he proved that he can do fairly well with not too much around him. You can't take that away from him. And won a playoff game this year. In a year that many people didn't even pick us to win 4 of the 5 games. You can't take that away from him. Now, let's get to Saquon Barkley. Over 1,300 yards rushing, I believe close to 500 yards receiving. A total of 10 touchdowns, 10 rushing touchdowns this year. Stayed fairly healthy throughout the whole season. Gutted through a shoulder injury. He dipped off in about 4 games later on in the season, but when he got back to being fully healthy, he started dominating again. He proved that if you give him some half decent blocking and he's motivated, that he can get back to being a 1,000-yard rushing running back. Also, he showed that he could be used in the passing game. He showed that clearly. And also, the most important part, he showed that he can be healthy and play a 16 to 17 game season. They played 16 because they didn't play the last game. So you mean to tell me with a guy that could get 4,000 yards and 22 touchdowns with that cast around him, and a guy that could give you 1,300 yards rushing with a close to 500 yards receiving, with the roster around those two guys, that we can't move forward with those two guys and build a roster around those guys? Hell, just give them a top 20 offensive line. Be in the top 20. And both their numbers are going to go up. Because there's no data to show that it wouldn't. There's no factors in the season that they just had that shows you that they will regress if they got more people around them. What if you got a receiver out there that opens up the pass game for Daniel Jones, which also in turn will open up the running game for Saquon Barkley? You guys are not thinking logically if you want to get rid of these two guys. These two guys were the driving force of this team. Remember, the defense was giving up rushing yards like crazy. We were bottom half, like what, 30th? So that means a team were moving the ball and they were wasting time off the clock. So Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley wasn't having a whole lot of time to operate because the other team was holding on to the ball. Think about that. I don't know. Open up bigger holes for Saquon Barkley. I see a lot of bigger runs. Oh, Saquon Barkley is not as explosive as he once was. Even if that's the case, he's still one of the most explosive backs in the league. So what are you talking about? Oh, this is Daniel Jones is mediocre at best. How can you say that when he's never had anything over mediocre around him? You guys got to start thinking before you start talking. Now, let's look at a scenario where we don't bring Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley back and everybody gets their wish. A full rebuild, as they call it. What do you get? You think Saquon Barkley is just that easily replaced? Although running back committee is a very good way of going about it because a lot of teams are doing it, but Saquon Barkley's leadership is easily replaced. Saquon Barkley's heart is easily replaced. What he means to this team is just that easily replaced. It's Daniel Jones, easily replaced. His work ethic is easily replaced. His knowledge of the game is easily replaced. And I still haven't got that question answered. If you want these guys gone, how do you replace them? You think it's just easy to go out there and just draft a quarterback and you come in and be this amazing guy? Because the way you say it is that Daniel Jones is not that guy because he's not putting up stats like a Patrick Mahomes and those guys with the guys around him. So anybody could come in and be better, right? So when you draft that new quarterback, why would you say you have to put pieces on the field around him? Shouldn't he just come in here and just be dominant with the people that are already here? That's what you're saying based off your logic. Because any quarterback could come in and do what Daniel Jones did. Any quarterback could come in and throw for 15 touchdowns at over 3,000 yards and rush for over 700 yards and 7 touchdowns. Any quarterback could come in and do that. Do you know if Daniel Jones didn't use his feet, Daniel Jones would have got killed this year? The way that offensive line was playing? If you didn't maneuver in the pocket and learn how to maneuver in the pocket better. But hey, anybody could just come and do what Daniel Jones did. Anybody could. Okay. So you guys tell me, for the guys that want to get rid of Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones because they're Dave Gettleman picks, you won't say the truth. You'll come up with all these other things, but that's really the truth. You don't want to be wrong about Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. You feel that Dave Gettleman overdrafted him. Who do you get? What do you get? How do you get it? What are you going to do when you do get it? Questions that need to be answered, man. But a lot of these cats that just say anything that they want to say are not going to bring any logic to the table. They're not going to bring any solutions. They're not going to bring a plan. They just feel that ding dong, the witch is dead. You get rid of Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley, we'll be okay. Let me know how. That's all I ask. But until you guys do that, thank you guys for watching this episode of New York Giants Full Access with your boy Big Pat Sports Talk. And until the next episode, hit that like and subscribe button. Hit that big blue join button if you want to join the Big Blue crew and talk your talk with Big Pat Sports Talk. Until the next episode, man. Peace. This is a Big Blue Crew production.